We've got football for you on a Monday. We'll run through week 4 results in the NFL. Sheil Kapadia on, is there a chance Jalen Hurts is average? He has a number that tells me I'm right. He has a number that tells me I'm incredibly wrong. A Cowboys tie that feels like a loss for the Packers. Jaxson Dart's big debut and not getting caught up in a win. Or maybe I'm wrong on that one too. I have a ton of college football. I go for 20 straight minutes. I loved Saturday. That's why you get up. That's why you lift all those weights. Penn State loses another marquee game. Is Oregon the best team in the country? Bama continues their dominance against Kirby Smart. Ole Miss had the better quarterback going up against LSU and Nussmeier, which we'd not have expected when it was a D2 transfer against Nussmeier. And then a bunch of little tidbits from around a Saturday and Sunday. So just loaded. We got like an hour 45 straight of football, and more football. And then life advice, including the roommate bed update. Enjoy. This is the Ryen Russillo podcast presented by FanDuel, and the NFL is officially back. So if you're going to be in it with FanDuel. They've got the goods, futures, live betting, SGPs, that same game parlays, your way bets, all of it. The app's clean, it's fast, and yeah, when you win, you get paid instantly, which is nice because Sunday patience doesn't exist. So get your bets in, build something bold, and make every game feel bigger. Download the FanDuel app or head to FanDuel.com/Ryen, R-Y-E-N, to get started. The Ringer is committed to responsible gaming. Please visit rg-help.com to learn more about the resources and helplines available, and listen to the end of the episode for additional details. Must be 21 and older and present in select states or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. In Connecticut, paid endorsement. NFL Week 4. We'll do best win. We'll do worst loss. We'll do some numbers that will impress your friends and also a note on ranking stuff. All right, best win. I still think it's Kansas City. We'll get to Baltimore's issues here in a second, but Kansas City didn't punt until its 9th possession when it was up 37-13. Mahomes playing basketball out there. He was 17 of 22 for 142 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had 4 on the day, but 3 touchdowns. So those numbers relate to his throws in under 2.5 seconds. So he's getting the ball out, second quickest among quarterbacks in the NFL. And it just felt like vintage Mahomes. Mahomes' first 4 touchdown passing game in almost 2 years. It's actually kind of shocking when you go through the game logs. You're like, when's the last time this guy did it? Well, it was October of 23. Worthy's back, 5 catches, 83 yards, had a big run for 35 yards. 4 different players caught touchdowns. So it looked a lot like Mahomes figuring everything out. Even when he was rushed, he kind of knew exactly what he was going to do. And I don't know if it means that Worthy is just opening up things because you feel like the defense is stressed in a way they hadn't been after he went down with the injury. Rice is a good receiver. I don't know about the T-shirt move, but, whatever. Look, I think for a team that got off to this bad start based on their standards and all of us that respect Mahomes so much that it's like, you really want to rule this team out of the AFC picture? Because you could talk about, the other factors with these other teams. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Buffalo today, but that Buffalo defense is not that good. And that was a weird game with them, although I do have some Spencer Rattler stuff for you. So on the Baltimore side, now they're 1-3. They went into it without a ton of guys in the defensive line, Travis Jones, Van Noy, Matabuke. They lost their left tackle, Stanley. Marlon Humphrey went out at corner. Nate Wiggins left the game, another corner. And then Lamar had the hamstring issue, so we'll kind of TBD on that one. Pretty good chance they were also like, hey, we're getting our asses kicked, so why don't we get Lamar out of there? So Mike Sando, who we reference literally every week, pointed out in his Pick 6 column for The Athletic that the Ravens technically finished the game without their top 5 highest paid players. Not great, Bob. So as bad as this was for Baltimore and as bad as it's been to start this season, the NFL story for each of these teams, basically your story is determined. I mean, we could add more things if you wanted to, but part of it's health. I think a lot of times we're confused by what's going on with teams with the injuries that we're not paying as much attention to. Some of the headlines of like, hey, do you realize they're down to like 3 defensive linemen that they had on their depth chart week 1? So that can happen a lot. The other part of it is your schedule and who you've played, and then turnover margin, which is a good example for a team that no one seems to care about that I'll talk about a little bit later. So this really has to do with schedule. So yeah, it's health and schedule for Baltimore right now. They play the toughest schedule in the NFL. We understand the Buffalo game, the all-timer. the Detroit game, which felt like, I don't know if it's the blueprint now, because good luck doing what Detroit did on Monday night of last week, and then Kansas City and the win against Cleveland. So the 7 sacks allowed in the Detroit game, you could sit there and say, is this getting a lot worse for Lamar? But if you actually look at some of the pressure rates, which I did this morning, the pressure rate for Lamar is actually lower than it was last year. But the defense is atrocious. And I don't know if it's all schedule-based. Some of it is, just like last year. They've had remarkable turnarounds 3 of the last 4 seasons where they started off the first half of the season just dismal defensively and then completely cranked it up. I think it was scheduled last year. I think it's so far scheduled this year, but then you add in the health part of it. But they're last in the NFL right now, allowing 33.3 points per game. So the rest of the schedule coming up here soon. It's Houston, who got right against Tennessee, which you would have expected. The Rams, who I think are and should be in the conversation with the other NFC teams. Bears, red hot Bears, Dolphins, Vikings. So, yeah, it's easier than what they just did. And then the second half, the rest of the way. And then if you look at the division, despite Pittsburgh's 3-1 start, you're talking about Cleveland, who no one cares about, Cincinnati, who's going to be out without Burrow. So there's still a chance, if this team's healthy, that I think they're going to be in the conversation in the AFC. And despite that 3-1 start there for Rodgers and the win of the early game that I boycott, has nothing to do with international affairs. But, get right with God, and then we'll get to the football. But Rodgers is actually last in the NFL in average intended yards per throw of all qualifying quarterbacks, a number I normally find alarming. Rams outlasting the Colts. Could that be best win? Yeah, it was a shootout. All sorts of things happen all over the place. It's probably still me holding the Ravens in higher regard than I do the Colts. But this Colts team has been obviously an incredible part of the story the first month of the season. So I don't know that it's necessarily better, but Stafford right now leads the NFL with 311 deep passing yards. The Rams are third on offense in the NFL in yards per play. And when we do our top 5 position stuff, which is, not why we're having Sheil on today, but I may bring it up. And we were talking receivers, even though, Ohio State fans have said that that's receiver U, and LSU had the top 3 receivers in yards and 4 of the top 7. But I was starting to think like maybe Neighbors was going to, considering what he did last year, the quarterback situation of the Giants, now he's out for the year with the ACL, which is extremely unfortunate because he is so dynamic. I guess it was just kind of after Jefferson and Chase in the coin toss of like, who's the third guy? There are a few different players that we could throw into that conversation as some have aged out. Maybe it was CeeDee Lamb and he's hurt, but Puka Nacua is probably the answer. He is incredible. He's leading the league in receiving yards right now. He's got 503. His lowest total in a game so far this season is 91 yards. All the other games are over 100. He was 13 catches for 170 yards yesterday. Again, with 503 yards on the season, he's number 1. Jackson Smith-Njigba's number 2 at 402 yards. So he's 101 more yards ahead of the number 2 receiver in the league. And I've always talked about DeAndre Hopkins as like there's no 50-50 ball for Hopkins because he just wins 50-50 balls. So 50-50 doesn't really relate to him. If you wanted to expand that theory, Jameson Williams may be a 20-80 ball guy. But Nakua's, I don't know what his contest win rate or whatever it is. All I know is that in tight windows, small, where it's like, first of all, Stafford's even trusting him to complete the reception on that side of it, but his hands are so incredible. So on the Rams, like in a bigger picture thing, as much as that Philly loss sucks being up 26-7 at their place, it still means something to me that you can get up on Philly 26-7 in what looks like a game that's like a game, as opposed to some of these other games that just get chaotic. And you're like, what does that score actually mean if you're looking at short fields, turnovers, and all sorts of nonsense, which is a perfect segue into Philadelphia's win against Tampa at home. So I still think it's Kansas City with the best win. We know Tampa has had Philly's number here for a while, despite Philadelphia generally feeling like one of the 3 best teams, if not, I don't know if they're necessarily the best team. Maybe they're the best team right now. The strength of schedule that we were talking about with Baltimore being the toughest, and an excuse for their 1-3 start, which I think is a fair excuse. Philadelphia has the second strongest schedule played so far, and they're 4-0. So there's 2 things here that kind of correlate to each other here. I'm giving the Rams credit for getting up in a loss, which was a disastrous loss, but Philly being able to come back against a really good Rams team means something. And I also think being up 24-6 on Tampa means something too, despite this being a one-possession game in classic NFL fashion, where you're like, how did this end up being a game? But there was some stuff in this one, right? A block punt for a touchdown, a fumble, which led to a short field. So even though Philly ends up with 200 total yards, you have to factor in losing possessions at times, sometimes kick and punt returns. You look at total yards, you're like, okay, that doesn't always tell the perfect story here. So even with this game feeling like it was completely one-sided in the fourth quarter, because Philadelphia couldn't really get much going in the third quarter other than that touchdown after the fumble. They punted on all three of their possessions in the fourth quarter. I think they only converted 1 third down on those 3 possessions. And in the fourth, at the Philly 11, it's 1st and 10, down 8, and then Baker throws a pick, and that's still not over. So brutal pick in that spot because it's first down, trying to make something happen. That's more of a 3rd down, 4th down throw. Look, that's part of it with Baker. I thought he was living pretty dangerously the first 3 weeks of the season anyway, and having a pretty clean sheet on this. But being able to hold off Tampa and then coming back against the Rams kind of just puts me back to this, like, whatever. Do we care that Philly's offense struggles on 3rd downs? Do we care that its defense allows 5.4 yards per play, which is 17th in the NFL? It doesn't seem to matter. I'd say the one thing that's always weird, at least so far 4 games in with this Philadelphia team, is that I can't figure out if it's like the 23 team that started 10-1 and we were like, yeah, I know they're 10-1, but none of us really like this. Or if you just go, hey, look what this team did last year. Look at the roster. The defense is going to get better. Sometimes there's going to be some limitations there offensively. The running thing has been weird to start the year as opposed to what they were last year with Saquon. But again, they deserve the benefit of the doubt. The worst loss, Green Bay Packers. Yes, I know they tied, but that's a loss. They're up 13-0, and the Cowboys look absolutely helpless. And as a Bears fan, Eberflus on the sideline, like, more. However, I don't know that he was the story necessarily last night. They block the extra point. They run it back for 2. It's 13-2, and you're like, all right, whatever. And I guess it really was that thing, that spiritual thing that happens in a game where momentum can shift. You may have noticed they did some stuff. Micah Parsons did play for the Cowboys. There was this whole thing about it. But he ended up making a huge play where defense was not the story last night, because you're like, Dak's actually going to pull this out. I mean, Dak completely lit it up. One of those awesome Dak games that kind of sucks us back into, I don't know if they're doing is he top 10 today on TV, but I hope so. Today is deserving of it. I just can't believe, like, you can't sit there and say, hey, the Packers against this Dallas defense that Collinsworth explained pretty well, just going, all right, well, you don't have any pass rush, so you got to blitz, but you don't have the corners to hold up in man coverage if you blitz the whole time. So now they're kind of stuck in this like zone world where guys are getting beat left and right, and they're picking on all these people. But this Green Bay defense that looked so dominant and just so in control against a really talented Detroit team to start this season didn't happen for them last night, all right? Which is, again, totally fine. That stuff happens. So there's a couple numbers here that I want to get to. George Pickens, who introduced himself last night on the broadcast from Drip University. I had to rewind that, make sure it wasn't Drop University. He did not attend classes at Drop University last night. He leads the NFL, this is according to Next Gen Stats, in boundary targets within 2 yards of the sideline since he's entered the league in 2022. So how this happened, Dak going 31 of 40 against this defense for 319, 3 touchdowns, clean the other way. And just staying in the fight when it looked like a game that everybody was going to be tuning out of early in the third quarter. All right, some more numbers for you. It's Monday, September 29th. Do you know who was 18th in the NFL in QBR? Spencer Rattler. Can we get this guy a win? I know he was a dick on the Netflix show, but he was a high school kid. Can we get this guy a win? Do you know that the Saints play the fastest pace of any team in the NFL? I don't know that it's working, but they are the fastest. Jacksonville's 3-1, and no one cares. I don't know what that means. There's just way too much. This is the part where I could just be wrong about this, because I could talk about Jaxson Dart for an hour. I went back and watched the third down throws again this morning. I don't even know if I'll get to it, but Jacksonville is 3-1, wins against the Panthers, Texans, and Niners yesterday. That game in particular, they were 4-14 on third downs. They were +3 in the turnover margin. They ran the ball really well yesterday for them. The Trevor Lawrence stats are still whatever. Him running out of bounds yesterday is like, it's honestly one of the most alarming things of the Trevor Lawrence story. It's like, if you're in year 5 and you're running out of bounds when you're trying to run clock here, it worked out on the next play, so it'll be forgotten in history. But Jacksonville is plus 2.3 in turnover margin per game. That's why they're 3-1. There's only 2 other teams that are over 1.0 turnover margin per game. So just to reiterate that, they're plus 2.3 each game, 4 games into the season. So I don't know that we should get excited about it. Caleb Williams, I get excited on that 3rd and 12 throw to Rome Odunze. How about this number for you? All right. The Bears offense, the Chicago Bears with Caleb Williams. Maybe you've heard of him. They're 4th in the NFL on 3rd down conversions for this offense. Who's number 1? Don't worry about it. The Dolphins. More importantly, though, as I was perusing 3rd down stuff this morning, the number 1 defense in the NFL on opposing 3rd down percentage, the Chicago Bears. 29% conversion rate against this defense. That's the 2nd lowest in the NFL since 2019 when Cleveland led the league in, was it a couple years ago? I think it was 23. Cleveland just under 29%. So percentage points still Cleveland a little bit better than you go all the way back to New England in 2019 where it was just an absurd number. I don't know that the Bears are going to stay under 30% on opposing 3rd down conversion rate for the entire season. Probably not, but that is a really rare number. Okay. Just give me a couple minutes here on Jaxson Dart. Because I watched the entire game, guy making a debut. He was a ton of fun at SC. I remember him getting into a game. I'm like, wow, this is, I don't know what it is, but it's a lot of fun. Last year was the Ole Miss year. It's starting to feel like this year might be the Ole Miss year. They had the Kentucky loss, the Florida loss, and you knew it was going to be fun with Dart, but it was also going to be a little dangerous. I am admitting a flaw, okay? This game is so hard, right? And we've talked about this a little bit more this season where, is the approach, stay in the battle. Just stay in the battle. That's what you should be preaching. You should be running clips of all of these teams. You should be running clips of Dallas looking absolutely lifeless and staying in that game. Talking about Philadelphia and that Rams comeback. I mean, this is the script rarely do you have the Houston-Tennessee game that we had yesterday where it's like, this team has no chance. It's more often like, how are we here in the 4th quarter where this team with the ball who's just looked outmanned for 3+ hours still has a chance to stay alive, right? So to win with all the work that goes into it and the ups and downs of those 3.5 hours, winning, sometimes in the execution of the win, I can be a little harsher. And again, it's not like I'm sitting here saying I don't care about winning because that'd be pretty stupid. That's not what I'm saying because Jaxson Dart got a win in his NFL debut. But I got to be honest with you. If that's what you're going to be doing on offense, that's not going to work. So I want to be fair here and then the first start, limited playbook, not a ton of trust, like that goal to go series where they ran, and then threw on 4th and goal, where they probably should have kicked the field goal anyway. And he did give his receiver a chance, so he kind of made a play on the scramble. So it's just a lot of the drop back and bail and run. So if you're going to run the Cam Newton offense for Jaxson Dart, long-term, it's probably not going to work. But for a team that somehow spent $10 million on Russell Wilson, who came in, got booed, it's like, hey, Russ, you want to run a 2nd and 20 and a 3rd and 26, get booed, and then leave when Dart came out of the game? Because it sounded like the upstairs completely misunderstood what was going on with him, where I think he wasn't hurt. It was more he was upset after a huge run that got called back because of a flag on the Giants. So the 3rd down numbers overall are pretty good, but we're also talking about a Giants team that started at the Chargers' 4-yard line, then the 9-yard line after a false start. They started at the Chargers' 3-yard line on another possession, and then they started at the 48 for the one where he did end up converting a 3rd and 5, which was huge, getting it to Johnson for the touchdown. So my point, like, hey, what's the point? The point is this. Because they won, the Dart game will be evaluated in such a kind fashion that it's probably misleading. And I'm telling you to not make that mistake. However, watching Dable almost make out with him twice, realizing it's his first start ever, this job is hard. Dable's probably worried about getting fired. So for a day at home, pulling it out against a really tough opponent where they got 20 pressures combined against Herbert, Chargers losing all, it's a whole nother thing. 20 pressures combined between Burns, Carter, and Thibodeau. It's a huge day for the Giants, but I know what will happen, like in local Giants coverage in the New York papers, and also because of all the layers of being New York, that it's probably going to be a lot of rounding up on those third down bailouts where it's a guy that was way more comfortable running, which again, I don't think is very sustainable. Ranking things. Once we get to let's get to the 5-week mark here. Right. So we'll start it next week. We'll start keeping track of best win, worst loss, and see where we're ending up at the end of the season. The Ryen Russillo podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is changing the way you live bet football, and it starts with Next Drive SGPs. Now you can bet what's happening on the next drive. Will it end at a touchdown, a punt, a field goal? Then see the player stats you need, stack in player props, and build your bet exactly how you want it. And every NFL game day comes with a profit boost you can use on your Next Drive SGP so you can get more out of every play. Whether you're betting a drive, a player, or the next big moment, FanDuel makes live betting feel smarter, faster, and way more fun. Visit FanDuel.com/Ryen, R-Y-E-N, to download the app today and bet the next drive your way. Must be 21 and older and present in select states or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. This episode is brought to you by Verizon. The new iPhone 17 Pro just dropped, and honestly, why would you get it anywhere but Verizon? With the best 5G network in America, you can catch every play, every game, no problem. New and existing customers can get the new iPhone 17 Pro, designed to be the most powerful iPhone ever, with eligible phone trade-in and unlimited ultimate, any condition guaranteed, best 5G source, root metrics data, United States. First half 2025, all rights reserved. Additional terms and conditions apply for phone offers. See Verizon.com for details. A late night for some of us, especially on the East Coast. Sheil Kapadia joins us now, the host of the Ringer NFL show and, of course, the Ringer's Philly special. Last night was fun. I didn't think it was going to be fun. Yeah. I don't know what it means. I saw you guys have a title. And again, sometimes, the titles can be a little bit more misleading than the hosts even want them to be. We'll get to Philly. We'll get to all the other headlines. But how did you feel about the title of your most recent podcast, asking if the Packers are on fraud alert?
Yeah, I think it's okay to ask it. I mean, okay. I thought that was a pretty disappointing game from the Packers, especially when we look at where we were 2 weeks ago with this team. And it was like juggernaut, can't be stopped, favorites in the NFC. And then there was just so much about that game, like the clock management at the end, the defense. I mean, we could go into a number of different things, but yeah, I think it's fair to say it changed. I've changed how I felt about them 2 weeks ago until now.
All right. So what do you think the issue is here? Because from a personnel standpoint, the defense is still the same group at the beginning. And I think all of us need to, maybe we don't need to do it, but even some of the top Super Bowl contenders are probably going to have 3 or 4 games. You're like, what the hell happened there? I mean, Philly's one of the rare kind of clean sheets for an entire season. But it does seem weird that a Cowboys team that's without CeeDee Lamb, that doesn't feel like they have any identity whatsoever. And I'm watching that first half going like, usually the Cowboys are disappointing but entertaining, and now they're just boring. And yet they put together one of the best offensive performances of the NFL season, which I know you have a note on that, which I think we want to get to. But what do you think it is that you see from a Packers defense that we get so excited about?
Yeah, I think even going back to last year, when you looked at the Packers defense, like the numbers looked good. And when you dug a little deeper, they are a little turnover reliant. Like when they're able to take the ball away, and this is not just exclusive to them, but some defenses are just steady and they can force 3-and-outs and they can get you off the field and they don't need to rely on getting those takeaways. And I thought the Packers last year were a little more reliant on those takeaways. And so I wonder if there's some of that here with this group as well, where, hey, if you're not playing an offense that's going to give you the ball or give you those opportunities, can you still be stout? Can you still be sound? And yeah, I mean, just going up against a Cowboys offense that's down, I think 3 offensive linemen, down CeeDee Lamb, and you really just needed one stop. Like, they didn't need to shut down the Cowboys offense. They kind of just needed one stop at the end of the game or whatever, and they couldn't get it. So it's just something I'm keeping my eye on. You're right. I mean, it's a long season. Most teams have a game or two like this, but I do want to see what that Packers defense looks like as we continue here.
What was the stat from last night for those teams combined offensively that you had?
Yeah, it was the best and second best offensive performances in the NFL by any team this season in terms of EPA per drive, which is the nerd stat I like to look at. So Cowboys game was first, Cowboys performance was first, Packers performance was second. So it just looks at like how many possessions did you have? Where'd you get the football? No offenses were more efficient than those two teams Sunday night, which also means no defenses were worse in any game this season than the Packers and Cowboys performed last night.
I couldn't help but kind of laugh at like the arc of, did you see Melissa Stark at halftime with LaFleur?
Yes.
Okay. So for those that missed it, you're looking at a halftime score of 16-13 Dallas is up, right? And Dallas gets 2 points on the blocked extra point. They do go 95 yards for that one touchdown drive. And then the other touchdowns after the fumbles was 15 yards. So you could argue the defense really only gave up 7 because the extra point return and then the short field only go 15 yards after the turnover. And Melissa Stark was like, hey, what do you think like with defense? And LaFleur just kind of looks at her like, it wasn't as weird as Ben Johnson was, which I thought was a little weird. But you look at the score, there's 16 points, and then you're kind of like, if you're LaFleur, you'd be like, did you just watch the first half? And he even said, he's like, defense, like, I don't know, like short field and, like we feel pretty good about our defense. And then it actually does fall apart.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that it's likely that 4 weeks from now, because of I'm defaulting to the personnel here, Sheil, is that I can't fathom that all of a sudden this Packers defense is going to be an issue, a negative for Green Bay.
Yeah, maybe the bigger issue is sort of because the game management stuff, that stuff that has creeped up with LaFleur in the past, like in the playoffs, in some big spots. And to get the ball at the start of overtime with 4:40 left, knowing that you need a touchdown to win the game, you should never be in a scenario where the most critical play of the game, literally the play that could win you the game, you're rushing and you got to count on Jordan Love just getting that playoff to not. I mean, that would have been the story, the most catastrophic loss in the NFL. If you actually don't know what's going on and you throw the football there and the clock goes to 0 and it's incomplete and you lose because of that. So that stuff, I'm just like, what's going on? Like, are they paying attention here with just how you work that drive? So some of that, maybe you're right, might be more concerning if you just figure, hey, the defense will get it together. They still have good players. Parsons is going to get healthier, all those things. The game management might be more of an issue.
I liked Collinsworth talking over that last scramble play.
Yeah.
And I think one of the benefits of Collinsworth is that you need to make the average things seem like they're above average. Like, I do think that's part of the broadcast, and I'm not going to go on some sort of broadcasting tangent here, but I think one of his great gifts is that even stuff that's whatever, he's so excited about it, and whether that's his personality, but you have to find ways to be like naturally excited about stuff to keep the energy up during a broadcast. And I think in that spot, again, it's like 12 seconds. They're trying to get lined up. They're like, oh, they're going to try to get a throw off here, but they're going slow. Love is checking with the sideline. So now you're in a spot where you're like, they're going to get the playoff, but are they going to get this playoff and then still have time left to kick the game time field goal? And Collinsworth at like 6 seconds as Love is dropping back, where if Love scrambles a second, they lose the game. If the ball is batted up into the air and incomplete. They're going to lose a second. In a college game, by the way, that clock would have said 0 for the home team.
Yeah.
And I like Collinsworth being like, they're going to lose. They're going to lose the game.
Yeah.
And they get off on this one, but I don't know if that says something, hey, long-term, now I can't trust them in the playoffs because of how poorly they handled. If anything, you would imagine that went so bad. That game went so bad for so many different reasons. It could be a bit of a mental reset of like, hey, maybe we're not the world beaters everybody thought we were the first couple weeks.
Yeah, I thought that's what the previous week was going to be, honestly, against Cleveland. I thought this could be a good loss for them. They lose to the Browns on this fluky sort of blocked field goal at the end, that maybe this is a nice reset. All right, now go into Dallas, take care of business. And early on, like you said, it looked like that was going to be the case. But I think their defense, and credit to Dak Prescott. I mean, he was awesome in that game. Their offense has been really, really good. So it's not like the Cowboys offense stinks and they're only doing this against Green Bay. They've been pretty consistent. They've had a top 5 offense this year. But yeah, you're right. It's September. You know, a lot of things we look at last year at this time, the Eagles were 2-2. And then we saw what they did. This happens every single year where you look at what happens in September. And then in December, you're like, oh man, that was a stupid opinion I had before it was even like Halloween.
I have a Philly theory for you. In
Okay.
23, when the Eagles were 10-1, I think all of us that were, really into it, because this is our jobs. You're like, yeah, they're 10-1, but I think I speak for you because I remember those conversations. It was kind of like, yeah, they're 10-1. And then it fell off. Wheels fell off. They lose to Tampa in the playoffs or whatever. And so they're 4-0. They've played the second toughest schedule in the NFL behind Baltimore. I think coming back against the Rams means a ton. I think getting up that big on Tampa, even if we're talking about the fumble with a short field, the block punt to get the game even going. But you have a number on the second half that should be way more alarming. But because they won the Super Bowl, I guess collectively we're all supposed to not care about a ton of things about this team that I actually don't like, but I realize I'm holding him to the Super Bowl standard. But this stat that you had yesterday is incredible.
They didn't complete a pass in the second half. They're the only team in the last 2 years that has not completed a pass in the second half, and they somehow still won. And it's not that they didn't call them. It's not that the offense didn't have the ball. They called 11 pass plays in the second half, and Jalen Hurts was 0 for 8 on those plays with 2 sacks and a scramble. And I repeat, they still somehow won the game. So it's a great team for content because, we do the Ringers Philly special and it's like the team can't lose. When Jalen Hurts, the last 20 times he started and finished a game, they have won 20 straight games. And yet the listeners and the fan base is still like, is this team good? And the two comparisons I've heard the most, one is that 2023 team. Fans are like, you know what? Is this just going to be 2023 all over again? But I was looking at some numbers this morning, and I think last year's Chiefs might be the right comparison so far when you look at it. If you look at since 2000, there's been 61 teams that have started 4-0 the first 4 weeks of the season. The worst point differentials, 2025 Eagles, 2024 Chiefs. They're only plus 20, yet they're still 4-0. And so they're winning these one-score games. Their offense looked great in the first half. I thought the first half was one of the best halves Jalen Hurts has ever played. He was 15 for 16. He was scrambling, no negative plays. He was throwing the ball over the middle of the field. And then it's like something happens and the defense does something maybe differently, or I still don't know exactly what it was. We'll look into that this week. But all of a sudden, it's like they literally can't complete a pass and they still win the game. So yes, very weird, hilarious team that apparently never loses.
That hurts that. So that's what the Washington game he doesn't finish, right?
Right. He got a concussion and they lost at the Kenny Pickett was in and they lost at the end. And this includes the playoffs. They've played Lamar Jackson. They've played Joe Burrow. They've played Patrick Mahomes multiple times. They've played Jaden Daniels. They've played Jordan Love. They've played Matthew Stafford. It's not even like they're beating up on, terrible quarterbacks. And I picked against them last week. And I'm like, I'm not picking against them again until they actually lose a game because I just sit there and I feel like an idiot.
Do you think those shovel passes or the pitches were some sort of like, hey, don't lose sight that we may get real creative when you think we're lining up for the tush push stuff?
Yeah, that was a nice wrinkle. They did that. The red zone play calling was actually nice. All three of their touchdowns were kind of schemed up, like you're saying. So yeah, I think they've had that wrinkle before, and I don't know that it's been that effective. That was a really nice one where they tossed it to Saquon Barkley. We're going to line up for the tush push, but do something differently here. So yeah, that's been kind of in the playbook, but that was a nice time to break it out for the touchdown.
Do you know what their red zone touchdown percentage is on the season?
I think they've scored on have they scored on every red zone possession?
They're 100% on touchdowns.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, 10 for 10 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a number that I usually think can kind of tell you. I think it's a huge quarterback number, right? But then I go, yeah, but the reason they're 100% is because of the tush push. Although those two wrinkles that we've touched on here, I thought were like Sirianni and the group just going, hey, we may throw something else at you here. If you think like all of you guys are even not like it's been stopped though. It's not like they needed to come up with something else other than just maybe to mess with the defensive preparation against them. The weird thing is some of these touchdown percentage teams, like Miami's second, the Jets are fourth. So it's not really correlating with like the best quarterbacks the way you would expect it to. Kansas City's 18th, Baltimore's 19th, the Rams are 21st. So I'll look at it again in a month. I mean, that's something I usually track that I think tells you a story of like who the best teams are and who the quarterbacks are you trust. But Philly's 100% on this right now, and they'll always put up like the Hurts total TD graphics, and it just dwarfs all of these other quarterbacks. And I had some really aggressive negative Hurts thoughts in that Rams game. And then I had to cross them all off because of what they did. And then I started having them all over again yesterday in the second half, where I think I'm just going to say, I think he's average. And I think that's going to be the mystery of this whole thing. I know he's won a Super Bowl. I've known they won the 20 games. You're going to hit me to death with any single number that you want to hit me with. But I think the frustration about talking about this team, because there's also some defensive numbers there too. You're like, how come that's not better? I think what's going to make it interesting is that Hurts during this entire run is going to be average. And this is going to be like the new Dak Prescott with success conversation of the week-to-week legacy update.
Yeah, I think Russell Wilson is probably the best comp for Jalen Hurts so far. I mean, I think he's definitely better than average. I think what he does in the run game gets overlooked a lot. Like now they have Saquon Barkley, but they had top 5 run games with Miles Sanders, with DeAndre Swift. I think he's a big difference maker there, not just in the short yardage, but the stuff you can do in the designed run game. I think he does a good job of taking care of the football. I think by adjusted completion percentage last year, he was the most accurate quarterback in the NFL. So I don't think he gets credit for that. You don't see a lot of misses on his film. I think he has pretty defined weaknesses, and those are, he will turn down throws that are available to him specifically in the middle of the field. And I think so that leaves some frustration. And there are ups and downs with this offense. Now, I think schematically, I don't think it's a very schemed up offense. I mean, they just look at it and are like, our players are better than yours, so we don't need to do anything that creative. And so I think you see a lot of that with their passing game. So listen, the team, it's offensively, they've been like between 4-8, 5-8. Every year he's been the starter. So they have had good offenses, but they do obviously have these moments or these halves where you look at it and are like, what is going on with this team?
Am I putting too much on the fact I'm watching Philly all the time because they're one of the better teams, and I'm not? Again, this always gets back to the standard. The reason we're worried about the Packers now is the standard at the beginning of the year. The reason we talk about the Chiefs this much is that it's the standard. Same thing with Buffalo. Same thing with Baltimore. Buffalo's defense, like watching that game going, look, I don't know that I trust them all that much. Like there's a lot of stuff I didn't like from that secondary in week 1 against Baltimore, and I've seen it against Miami. And it's like, how are the Saints in this game? So it always comes back to like the standard part of it. Maybe it's just my own thing of like people thought Hurts was ranked too low in the quarterback tiers thing. Like to me, him cracking the top 10, closer to 10, obviously than 1, like that's about as nice as you could do with him. And, the accuracy stuff that you're hitting me with, I don't have a counter to that. And maybe in a different setup where they didn't like the personnel around him, he'd be allowed to air it out a little bit more. But there's just these stretches, man. These stretches when he's off his spot. And if the run isn't there, I don't know that he may keep the play alive, but I don't know that the throws is alive as the other guys that I like more than him, which again, it's not like this list is new all of a sudden here after week 4.
Yeah, he definitely likes to scramble more when he leaves the pocket, and he doesn't have the biggest arm. And I think it's to what you're saying. They're on national TV all the time, and when it looks bad, it looks. I mean, I just said they didn't complete a pass and a half. It's not like it goes from really great to all right. It was okay. It goes from one end. I've never seen a game like that where the offense looks that way in one half and the other way in the gap there between good and bad is as big as I've ever seen in an NFL game with how their offense looked. So yeah, I think, and there's always going to be the question, well, he's got AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Saquon Barkley, and that's fair. Like, how would it look in another offense with less talent?
And that O-line.
Yeah, and that O-line. I mean, you could come, and also, you could look at that. You could have that conversation with this coaching staff, with this quarterback. But then you could all, if you're a Hurts defender, you could say, well, what would if another quarterback came in, they wouldn't be winning more games because they literally have won 20 in a row with him. So you can go back and forth, and I have. Trust me, I have a million times over the last few years with this conversation.
Okay. We did our top 5 position guys, right? We do it every year. And who did you have as third best receiver?
I think I had Chase, Jefferson, AJ Brown, CD, but then I got Puka in there as 5. I'm feeling good about it.
He's unbelievable, man. I mean, I know he put up huge numbers last year and the whole thing, and the numbers are off the charts here. And one of the things I was talking about a little bit in the open, it just seems like he's just grabbing stuff that other people aren't. Like, it's like he's more ready for the reception. And granted, again, the receiver should be more ready than the defensive backs are because of what their responsibilities are on a route versus the receiver. But maybe it's the size thing too. Me being like, oh, well, I'd rather have a CD. I'd rather have a Neighbors. I'd rather have some of these other guys. I'd rather have AJ. Like, I think AJ is awesome. It's just he's not going to get the targets. And just based off everything that we just talked about there a little bit. But at least at the start of this season, there's no way you can have him lower than third. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, he's incredible. I mean, he is so physical. It feels like, I know we're not allowed to talk clutch anymore, I think, in sports. And in 2025, you get yelled at but it feels like anytime they need a big play, he comes through. In that game against the Colts, they had a huge third down, and he just came up with back-to-back plays. I love the way they use him. I love just the little stuff he does. He's so physical. He blocks. He's really complete. So he is an awesome player that makes that offense go in a way that probably few other wide receivers are that responsible for.
So if you had Philly first in the NFC, would you have Detroit ahead of Green Bay, or the head-to-head, or stop asking this when it's not even the end of September yet? Because really it's a Rams question, right? It's a Rams question about the rest of the division, what you've seen from them. And, I'm always going to kind of like default to, if you're stuck and you need your quarterback to solve it, Stafford's a lot higher on that list than almost the entire league, other than the kind of go-tos that we, would normally always have ahead of him.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting with Stafford this year, and this goes back to last year where McVay has gone back to sort of how he played. I don't want to go too crazy, but like during the Jared Goff years where it was like a lot of play action, under center, play action, like help the quarterback out. Don't just make him sit back there and shotgun and diagnose the defense. And so they've made adjustments to that respect, and their run game has been really good. And Stafford has looked really good doing that. I mean, I think McVay has had an awesome year just in terms of offensive scheming. I think he's been in his bag, and you watch those games and you're like, oh my gosh, that guy's wide open and Stafford's making all the throws. He can still, my question with Stafford is not like one game. One game he can do it as well as almost anybody in the NFL. It was all that injury stuff in August where you said, is he going to be able to get through a 17-game season and then a playoff run to get them to a Super Bowl? And it was just a month ago. We were like, is this guy going to play in week 1? Is he going to be okay this year? And he's played really well so far this season. So I think they're right there in the mix. I mean, Eagles, Packers, Lions, Rams, those are probably my 4 if I'm just looking at the NFC contenders right now, who kind of is in that mix that can get to the Super Bowl. I think those would probably be my 4 teams. You can make a case maybe for some others. Tampa, if you like Washington when Daniels comes back, if you like Seattle or San Francisco. But I think those 4 I would probably put in that top tier.
You think Seattle feels great about the Darnold-Geno decision?
Yeah, and I feel pretty stupid because I was like, Darnold's not going to look the same in Seattle like he did with Kevin O'Connell and Justin Jefferson, and it's looked really good through a month. I mean, they are creating so many explosive plays. They create explosive plays at the highest rate in the NFL. Baltimore might have overtaken them, but if they're not 1, they're 2. And so it's not a high volume passing game, but it's like, hey, I really like what they're doing because it's not, hey, Sam, you need to put together a 9-play drive where you don't make a mistake. It's like, you can make some mistakes, but we're going to pick up big chunks in the passing game and just push the ball downfield. And that's going to make up for maybe some of the inconsistencies with our offense or in your game. So yeah, they have been really impressive. Jackson Smith-Njigba is awesome. If a Seahawks fan is listening and it's like, hey, get him in there. I don't know if he's top 5, but I think he's certainly top 10 so far this season. And so, yeah, they have had a very nice start to the season. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, he's number 2 in yards behind Nacua. The top receiving yard numbers are pretty interesting right now. If you look at it, because it's Nacua, which is not a shock. It's just that he's that far ahead of Smith-Njigba. And then third is Quentin Johnson, who looks like a completely different guy in the beginning of the year. Huge catch in the corner. And look, Justin Jefferson's still there. But again, the quarterback play that you've had with Minnesota is kind of up and down. So not what he would normally be used to. Although, look, I guess you could say, hey, he's had a bunch of different quarterbacks and still shown up the entire time, where Chase has had Burrow the whole time. So, it's a massive advantage for Chase on this. But I didn't want to do a ton of the receiver stuff here. I had a Jacksonville number for you. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, give it to me.
So Jacksonville is averaging a plus 2.3 turnover margin per game. There's only 2 other teams that are over 1. Pittsburgh's one of them. When I look at the turnover margin number right now in the league, it screams teams you don't like with good records. And that, you're probably right. Jacksonville's 3-1, and I do not care. Is that fair?
I'm mostly with you. Yeah, I don't trust them at all. You're right. Even if you look at the advanced stats, like the EPA on turnovers, they're top 3. To your point, the Steelers are 1. By the way, it's just, it's not stuff that generally stays the same throughout the course of an entire season. A lot of it depends on the bounce of the ball, what quarterbacks have you faced so far, those types of things. And so you saw that with the Jaguars against the 49ers, certainly creating those turnovers. And listen, they do have athletes on defense who are doing some nice things. I think their defense is absolutely overachieved through 4 weeks. Offensively, I still don't trust them. I mean, there are just plays where it's like Trevor Lawrence throwing into a crowd, or he had to play yesterday where he needs to get out of bounds and he slides, or he needs to have the clock continue to run and he slides out of bounds. And I'll tell you what, though, Liam Cohen, I mean, what a fun new character in our lives. Just yelling at coaches at the end of games. He'll just yell at Trevor Lawrence. It'll be in between plays where Trevor Lawrence misses a throw, and he will literally be like an unhinged parent at a youth sporting event, just yelling at him, the ball's got to be in. Trevor Lawrence is waving him off, and he's got 15 seconds to get a play call in. I don't know. I wasn't too familiar. I knew Liam Cohen. All right. He was with McVay, and then he went to college, and he was in Tampa last year. But this guy is just, fun new character in my life this year with how he's operating through 4 weeks.
When Trevor waved him off, what was that, 2 weeks ago, or was that just
2 weeks ago? I think it was, right? Yeah.
I was kind of like, all right, I don't know that, Trevor, you've exactly lit it up here. Because if you haven't heard me talk about it, it's just kind of like, hey, year 5, the numbers have not been good for 4 years. Rookie year would give you a pass. Start of the coaching thing, not great. But then you're you still kind of make some of these throws. You're like, how do you not see this stuff? So when he waved him off, I kind of felt like, well, it doesn't really mean anything, but is it a window into his personality that he's difficult and that's not why it's working? And now that we've had like 4 weeks of it, maybe I understand him waving him off a little bit more. And I still think Trevor Lawrence is just like this is more likely that he's going to be a very disappointing number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, I think he can be, average, competent, but I don't see the ceiling with him anymore. And I would listen when he had that first year with Doug Peterson where they were playing really well. I'm like, oh, I see it here. Okay, the talent's showing. He was just in a bad situation, but you haven't really seen that since. And there's just a trust factor with some quarterbacks. Like, are they going to make a good decision when the game's on the line? And I know he's had a bunch of drops. It hasn't all been on him. He's had some nice throws where his numbers could look completely different this year if his receivers could just catch the ball. But yeah, I still see, I feel like he is going to be more mistake prone maybe than some of the other quarterbacks for sure.
Yeah, the plus margin turnover stuff. Jacksonville's +9, Pittsburgh's +7, the Bears are +5. Bears are awesome, so I don't think that that's misleading. But I think I think the first two, like it's 2 3-1 teams. Like, do you like Pittsburgh? Do you like anything about Pittsburgh?
No, I mean, Pittsburgh, they played well on Sunday morning. I'll give them that. They're 3-1, but yeah, there is a lot there to your point with the turnovers, the quarterbacks they've faced so far that just suggests like this is not going to be built to last. Now, maybe I'll be wrong. I've been wrong on the Steelers basically every year. I'm just like, he's not going over 500 this year. I said it again this year, and they're 3-1. So maybe that's just me being like, you're an idiot, cope with it through a month, stop making this stupid take in August. But yeah, I don't trust the Steelers. There's highest EPA on turnovers in the NFL is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They faced who? Justin Fields. They got lit up in week 1. Carson Wentz they face last week. I forget who the other 2 quarterbacks were, but yeah, they have not had a stellar Drake May. The Patriots outplayed them in that game. They turned the football over 5 times. That ends up in a win as well. So yeah, and they have the second hardest schedule in the NFL remaining, I think. So I don't think it's like, well, they'll just keep beating up on these bad teams. No, I think it's going to get harder for them, and it's not going to look as good. But listen, you saw all the smiles in Dublin yesterday. They're feeling good right now, so good for them.
They've got the Browns at home next week, in 2 weeks because they have a bye.
Bye start. Okay, I didn't even realize.
That's right, week 5. So Cleveland's its own. I could probably just do an hour on Cleveland because when I look at Cleveland, I go, if you're paying attention to these games, they hold they hold Cincinnati to 17 points. I know they gave up 41 to the Ravens, but they kind of did. I mean, they did, but there was a 10-3 at the half, and then they gave up 21 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
The Packers game, they give up 10 and win. And Detroit, I know it says they scored 34, but that was one of those mess of like short field a couple different times. Flacco was on one where he threw a couple interceptions, so they had 3 turnovers in that. I think the total yardage probably, there you go. Total yards, 277 for Detroit. They have played these awesome teams. And I know the Baltimore score is going to feel misleading, but watching that game play, like I watch Cleveland to go, what is it that they do against Baltimore that it doesn't seem like, well, they have Myles Garrett. So that's the thing no one else can do. And then you see Detroit kind of spy it, rush less, but then collapse everything that they're doing. A bit like, more often than not, I'm starting to watch like teams just dropping so many people and then hoping they have one guy that confuses the offensive line enough. I don't like 3-man rushes because I think generally it's pretty pointless. But Cleveland's defense, for whatever metric you'd want to use of like when the game is still being like played as if it's a normal game, that defense has put up some incredible performances, but wouldn't have the scoring stats to back it up whatsoever. So I have no idea what's going to happen with Pittsburgh next week, despite the records.
Absolutely. Top 5 defense in the NFL, the Browns. If you do EPA, they're 5th, success rate, they're 3rd. Their offense sucks. What do you want them to do? You got to play. If you have to play, 13 possessions in a game because your offense keeps going 3 and out or turning the football over, you're going to give up more yards and you're going to give up more points. That's why we try to look at the other numbers now. So yeah, their defense has been really, really good so far this season, and their offense has maybe been the worst in the NFL or bottom 3 in the NFL. So Browns next week in London, Browns Vikings. I mean, do you just feel you gonna go over for that one? Maybe Browns Vikings. catch a little flight?
No, I don't even watch
I
don't watch that game. No, I don't.
Yeah, so
you're
early
not getting me
for
from 6 a.m. until 10 p.m. after Saturday.
Yeah,
like I got to get out of the house at some point.
It's reasonable.
I think it's totally reasonable.
Yeah,
and usually that game has sucked so much in the past, the matchup, that you could get through it. Or if I had to, if it was something that I felt like I had to do, then I would go back and watch the clips and get through it all.
Yeah,
I watched Jaxson Dart on every third down this morning.
How'd that go?
It was better today than it was yesterday.
Okay.
I was going to open the podcast by saying Jackson Mahomes could have won that start, but then I was like, that's not fair because he wouldn't have won that game yesterday.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I think that was a good last minute change up to the rundown. Yeah, I think I think for a rookie performance, it's like the rookie making their first start. It's not going to always look great. I thought him scrambling, him running was a big factor for their offense. Now I will say my biggest takeaway was just like I've never seen someone scramble like this. He looks like he wants someone to knock his head off of his body. That's his goal when he gets in the open. And I know he did this in college too. I thought maybe it would be, he would see NFL athletes and be like, all right, I probably shouldn't do that. But no, he's like, come on, you wanna, rip one of my limbs off? Go ahead, go for it, as he's going for like one extra yard. So yeah, I don't know how he lasts a month, let alone an entire season. I couldn't believe it. I was so entertained. It's great.
This is who he is, man.
Yeah, I know, but that's crazy. Like these guys are going to just throw him into the first row if he keeps playing like that. I want to see what it looks like next week against the Saints.
Yeah. I think the Cam Newton style offense really only works for Cam Newton, and it's going to be tough for him to do it. And I don't know. I don't know if I think everyone's going to think I'm totally off and wrong about all this stuff, but if someone wins and expectations are really low, then we start talking ourselves into why this was such a really good performance. And again, it was better today for me watching it as opposed to when I was watching it live. But on top of everything else, that Giants front is awesome. And I know Alt goes down, and it's a Chargers team that a lot of us are still excited about. I don't know if you're necessarily off them, but the pressure rate we've seen in a couple games here with Herbert, even that Broncos game, I mean, they got all over them. And this is now becoming, well, first of all, you've got to have the defensive line, a Benito, a type like that. Again, it's front seven, not necessarily just defensive line. And then what you have in that front from the Giants. So, it's a bit like Detroit going up against Baltimore. I'm like, hey, well, we need to do that. We play like, okay, well, go ahead, try to do it. So I think it's back-to-back games of pressure that's built to try to get after Herbert, especially with the left tackle going out. So maybe the story is, I don't know that there's enough from that Chargers game because the short fields and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's a super disappointing loss, but it's an explainable loss, even if you should be beating a rookie quarterback if you're going to be one of the class AFC teams, even on the road.
Yeah, Herbert's been hit 26 times in his last two games, which is just a wild amount for an NFL quarterback. And, coming even in August, it was like, hey, they're good at tackle. They're not good on the interior. Well, now they've lost both their tackles, and we'll see with Alt whether it's a long-term injury or not. But now when you have two backup tackles, I mean, I think at one point in that game, they had one starting offensive lineman on the field, the Chargers. So it got pretty ugly pretty fast for them. So yeah, I liked how they looked the first 3 weeks. I thought, hey, did I sleep on this team? It still has Herbert. It still has Harbaugh as their coach. Harbaugh wins basically 11 games every single year as an NFL head coach. But I do want to keep an eye on that, the offensive line injuries, because I do think that's a very big deal if Alt's out for a while. I mean, if you get so many injuries at one position group, it's just almost impossible to overcome if it's like offensive line or cornerback or something like that.
Last thought here. Did you have anything else you needed to share with us that I felt like I've ignored, or you felt like I've ignored? It's more important.
I think we hit on the big stuff.
Okay. Did you see Jeopardy's James Holzhauer? Is that how you pronounce it?
I think that's in the neighborhood.
Seems as sure as I do. So he showed a clip of the Egbuka touchdown when it was 24-6 in the third quarter for Tampa. right? So it's 24-6, Philly's up, and then it was like big play central there. Like Puka had that play where the two defenders collide with each other. And then he kind of waltzes a bit around the 15-yard line. He slows down and then turns around, backpedals a little bit, a couple seconds, right? A couple more seconds of game clock. Yeah. So James tweeted with just clear as hell video. He's better at this than I am. I just film my TV. Sure would be nice if the Bucs had a couple more seconds left on the clock. I wonder where those seconds went.
Interesting.
And also likely irrelevant, right? I mean, I understand that he's smarter than I am, but those seconds and then just assuming you would have 2 seconds left, kind of ignoring like how the rest of the game plays out based on clock, the third quarter part of it. He got lit up. He got lit up yesterday for this take. The first comment that was, this was a little harsh. It says, clock resets, you cockeyed dick farmer. So football fans were not in agreement that those are necessarily the two most important seconds. So, you know, again, it was the third quarter. And just in case you missed that, again, the number one post, the most views underneath that was clock resets, you cockeyed dick farmer. So I think there's a message in there that you can't always let the smart people bully us. Because in that spot.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I interrupted you.
I mean, I just think you're reshaping how I should do my prep for these NFL games. You know, I'm trying to look at the nerd. I should be seeing who's responding to James, because that was much better content. I've done 2 podcasts already since games ended yesterday, and I didn't have a moment that was good as reading that first comment to his tweet there. So I need to look in the mirror, you know, not me, James. Listen, we can improve. So I'm with him. It's all good.
I think there's a reason why that there's always that one category in Jeopardy that's untouched.
Yeah.
15th century muskets. Super Bowl winners. All right. You can check out Sheil on the Ringers Philly special, not the Ringers Philly average.
No.
And also the Ringer NFL show. Thanks, man.
All right. Thank you.
And now it's time for a special part of today's episode brought to you by NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket has awesome features to help you stay on top of all the action, like Multiview, where you can watch up to 4 games at once or track your favorite teams and players with stats, and Fantasy View. Disclaimer, device and content restrictions apply. They called me Multiview Rye over here at the pad on Sunday. I was loving it. Because I even watched a little Houston, Tennessee. Yeah, I didn't care. I was like, I'll get a screen on those guys. See what's happening over there. Detroit, Cleveland. Is Cleveland going to have another awesome defensive performance with no chance of winning whatsoever? What's with that Flacco punt? Oh, that was a pass. Not the quick kick. What down was it? Anyway, I'm excited about Spencer Rattler going up against this Giants front, which I keep talking about. I can't stop talking about it. I absolutely love it. We've mentioned before how Rattler gets rid of the ball, or they run the fastest plays, not get rid of the ball, but they run the fastest plays of any offense. They're going to need it against this Giants front. Again, 20 pressures combined from 3 players on the defense, led by rookie Abdul Carter. Like him in 51. Don't really understand the 56 thing, but, you know, sometimes you got to let kids be kids. Devin Neal, healthy scratch last week. Kansas rookie, 6th-round pick, running back. 1 carry, 2 yards. 1 game played, 2 carries, 9 yards. You're not going to see him on a lot of fantasy teams starting, but you may see him on the waiver wire. Probably owned in 0% of leagues. But the reason I bring him up against that front and Rattler, quick escape hatch, perhaps, for the Saints offense. There's other games other people are going to talk about that I'm sure you'll hear plenty about, because in week 5, we've got Vegas at Indy. Can Geno bounce back after just a brutal interception game there? Miami, Carolina. What's their record going to be after the Monday Nighter? Going up against a Carolina team that maybe tricked us with a couple scores there. Arizona. But really the headliner, New England at Buffalo. Can Buffalo's defense stop Drake May, who's better than Brady at the start of Brady's career? Those are all things that you can watch in multi-view and keep track of it all. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch every game every Sunday all in one place with NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV and track your fantasy league players like a champ. And right now you can get NFL Sunday Ticket month to month and cancel anytime. Go to youtube.com/Russillo, Russillo, to sign up now. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games. Excludes digital-only games. Base plan required. Renews every month during the 2025 regular season only. Your membership for the following month can be canceled anytime before your renewal date. Terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Commercial use excluded. We got a lot of college football I want to talk about because Saturday was incredible. We'll start in Happy Valley. Actually, we'll start with the AP rankings. Ohio State still number one. Then it's Oregon, Miami. Oregon moves up 4 spots. Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Penn State, Indiana, Texas, Alabama, Texas Tech, Georgia. I personally would have Oregon or Miami 1 ahead of Ohio State. I think I'd put both of those teams ahead of Ohio State at this point, but I can't get worked up about any of this stuff. Ole Miss had to jump. A&M's getting a little SEC boost. I don't think they're the 6th best team in the country with, they're just 4-0 and they're in the SEC. So there you go. I have some thoughts on Indiana's nice win. I've got not a ton, but don't get too excited. So here we go. Oregon's up 17-3 at Happy Valley. Whiteout, James Franklin, Drew Aller, Doubt. Here we go. Done this before. Aller, 45 yards in the first half. Worst first half total of his Penn State career. First 6 possessions through 3 quarters, 1 field goal, 5 punts. Lanning gives you the throat slash on the sideline after a 4th and 1, 8-yard touchdown run by Davison. Jordan Davison now is 10 of 10 on 2 yards or less conversions. And so it's 17-3. You're like, man, Penn State, we're not close. Then it happens, the comeback. Aller goes 4 plays, just a dime to Ross, transfer wide receiver, 35-yard touchdown in the end zone. They get the punt, then just a 15-play grind rush fest, leading to another Ross touchdown. And it's tied up 17-17. And you're thinking, is this actually going to happen for us, Penn Staters? The answer is no. Second overtime, first play by Aller. Interception, game over after trading touchdowns in the first overtime. Oregon scoring the beginning of theirs. Aller comes in, needs a touchdown to keep it going. Interception. This game ended the same way the Big Ten championship game ended against Oregon. The way it ended against Notre Dame in the playoff semifinal. There were more plays in both of those latter 2 games, so it wasn't necessarily the final play, but those are 3 Aller interceptions to end those games. So Franklin is now 4-21 against top 10 teams at Penn State. I dug into this a little bit. So 4-21 isn't great. Like, there's a lot of really good coaches out there. Be like, this guy's 1-8 on the road against top 5 teams. You're like, no shit. 4-21's tough. 4-21's tough. They were underdogs in 21 of the 25 of these games. So is this same old Penn State? I said it last year, whether it was the SC game, the Minnesota win, just a battle with Oregon. The Penn State team from 24, and I still hold out hope this 25 team version is just better than all those other Penn State teams that pissed me off. Like, I think 23 was probably my peak Penn State pissed offness. Penn State fans, you know what I'm talking about. But I think a lot of you just didn't like that I said it, even though you completely agree with me. Because I think in the past, Penn State, and definitely before we had the Big Ten expansion, you looked at the conference and it was pretty simple. Ohio State's better than everybody else. Doesn't mean they're going to go undefeated, but they're going to be more talented than everybody else. And then you had Michigan, whether they were up or they were down, would be in that conversation. And Penn State would be kind of right there with them, where they were never as talented as Ohio State or the best Michigan teams, but they were more talented than everybody else. And they'd be propped up because they're in a major conference, much like the SEC. The same exact thing happens, but they'd be propped up kind of playing nobody and then being ranked. So in 23, they were 6-0. They were ranked 7th. They beat number 24 Iowa 31-0. Iowa just, hanging around. Hey, we're number 24. So it's number 7 against number 3 Ohio State at their place. They lose. They win a couple more conference games. They play Michigan. They lose. They're 10-2. And, they're playing in a bowl game. They're the 10th team in the country, and then they lose the bowl game to Ole Miss. And you're like, what was that season? The 22 season. Very similar. They're 5-0. They're ranked, I think, 10th. They're 10th in the country. I don't know why, but they were. Look, you run out of teams to rank. All right, so I shouldn't even say that. They actually beat Auburn at their place out of conference. They lost to Michigan 41-17. They beat Minnesota. They get 44-31 in a fun game against Ohio State when Ohio State was number 2 in the country. They win the rest of their games. They're 10-2, and they do beat a ranked Utah team, which did have some injuries in that one. So, look, the 21 season was a mess, but they started off 5-0 again. They play number 3 Iowa. Penn State's ranked number 4. And they ended up with 5 losses, actually 6 losses because they lost to Arkansas in the bowl game. So there were other years where I'd be like, oh, cool, look at Penn State with a top 10 ranking again. Awesome. I don't think that's what this team is. I don't think it was what the team was last year. I don't think it's what the team is this year. It just sucks. It just sucks for you because it's like the same old thing and the same disappointment where it's like you think the law of averages, you get one of these at some point. Look, if they split at Ohio State, or home against Indiana, they're going to be in the playoffs. A little on Dante Moore. I'm so thrilled that Quincy Avery and I talked about him the way we talked about him last week, because hopefully now, for those of you that were probably a lot of you watching him for the first time, the poise. The third and fourth scramble to the right side to hit Moore, the freshman receiver, to change the route. Flushed out, changes the route, no pulse the entire time. The bobble in overtime to Jamari Johnson, the other huge tight end that they got, the portal from Louisville. The second OT touchdown, that Johnson play, it's bobbled. It's all kind of weird. It's all feeling like it's chaos around him. And he's just so calm the entire time. And this Oregon team is loaded with weapons. Let's go down to the SEC here. Bama wins at Georgia. Kirby Smart, 99-8 against teams that are not Alabama. He is now 1-7 against Bama, 0-2 against Kalen DeBoer. The biggest thing, and it's not just about this game, it's about the Florida State game for Alabama, okay? I'd said it when it happened because I felt it when I was watching it. As disastrous as that game was for Alabama, Ty Simpson getting his ass kicked, running for his life, just a miserable day in Tallahassee. He fought, all right? He fought his ass off in that game. So that fight showed me something, despite all the other things of like, how is Bama starting the season like this? And this is like a really weird carryover, some of these bad habits and what seems like a massive culture shift post-Saban, which was inevitable, which is just going to happen. Like, newsflash, Alabama, the thing Saban did is never going to happen again, right? Anywhere, forget your place. But Bama, since that game, has cranked up the offense. They're 20th in college football in yards per play on offense. And this Georgia game was a bloodbath. Guys just destroying each other. But there also felt like this game was going to be a bit of a statement of like a power running game against what feels like Bama still prefers to throw it, although they didn't get it going in the second half at all. We'll bring up some of that stuff here. It kind of felt a bit like this statement. Can a SEC contending team, and I'm talking about like SEC title contending team, can they win this kind of game being one-dimensional? Because Stockton is not going to light it up, even though the Taylor drop would have made it 28-24 Georgia. That drop was massive. And then on 4th and 1, where there's 13 and a half minutes left, you'd think they'd want to kick the field goal. They don't. Cash Jones gets absolutely blown up by LV Overton. Just a bloodbath of a game. So we'll worry about Bama allowing 6.9 yards per carry and being shut out in the second half. But it was a third down game, and Bama was 13-19 on third downs. I don't think Georgia even converted one in the first half. They ended up 2 of 8, and Stockton had 13 completions. And with his running and the overall running, like all these things, they're nice. But like, there's a difference. We saw the better quarterback win in Happy Valley with Dante Moore. We saw the better quarterback win in Athens with Ty Simpson. Georgia's D, though, like you thought it dropped last year when it was 29th. It's 69th right now in opponent's yards per play. This is after being 10th, 16th, 2nd, 9th, and 2nd from 2019 to 2023. The better QB won in Oxford, Mississippi as well. The former D2 champ. I guess you're always a D2 champ. Trinidad Chambliss for Ole Miss. So it wasn't Garrett Nussmeier. Chambliss had 385 total yards, up 17-13, 3rd and 14, 18-yard completion. That was the dime of maybe not just that game, but of the entire Saturday. I'm sure there were some other throws that were just as good, but considering what was going on, like LSU was not the better football team, but they get that stop. They've got the ball, plenty of time left to go. It's down 17-13. Stuff can happen here. But that completion with that kind of anticipation, incredible. So when LSU's D needed stops, the 2 fourth quarter possessions by Ole Miss, there was only 3 possessions total in the fourth quarter of this game, 2 of them from Ole Miss. They couldn't get Ole Miss off the field. There was that one, and then a total of 22 plays for 10 minutes, 131 yards, converting that huge fourth down after Trinidad did run out of bounds. So, look, this LSU offense that's loaded with talent, I'm not going to worry about the defense all that much, even though that felt like it needed to carry him a little bit more yesterday or Saturday. So the week-to-week issue with LSU is they cannot run the football. The O-line that they had in 24, remember they had 4 players that were drafted in the NFL, and collectively, I think based on performance, it was an overrated group. I don't know if those guys individually will all end up having really good. Will Campbell's off to a terrific start with the Pats. Again, 3 other guys are drafted. We shall see. But that group with that kind of NFL talent was not nearly as effective as you would imagine if you look back on it. If all those guys are still playing 5 years from now, like, man, that O-line must have been awesome. It wasn't. Having said that, it felt like, and I fell for it, when you go up against Clemson opening night, you're talking about NFL talent everywhere, including 2 guys in the front 7 who are supposed to be top 6 picks in the draft and 26 out of Clemson, allowing only 1 sack. Yeah, I know there was a bunch of tackles for loss, but allowing only 1 sack. And just the general feel of the night was that LSU's O-line was controlling that D-line. Like, that gave you a lot of hope that this O-line, although on paper maybe not better than the 24 group, is going to be a better group by neutralizing Clemson the way they did, and we'll see how it goes. That's not been the case, and maybe the secret that's no longer a secret is that Clemson's just not that good, even with all those names on defense, because that's how this is starting to look. Like, LSU could not run the football last year. They were 104th in rush yards per game. They were 76th on yards per carry. They really can't run it this year. They're 109th in rushing yards per game. They're 95th in yards per carry. I know they lost the right tackle yesterday and had to shuffle some things around. They lost Moore at center at one point. They had to bring in Chester, who's kind of the utility guy. Maybe Nussmeier's hurt more than we think with the ab injury. But it's astonishing that this group, with this kind of recruiting, can't run the football. And on a day where Ole Miss is dropping 8, and they're like, we still don't think you can protect when we drop 8, and Nussmeier was terrible against the drop 8 stuff, which felt like maybe half the dropbacks for him. And then that kind of approach is hitting you defensively. You've got these numbers up front, and you still can't run the football. And I know Durham was out of the game, but still, like, those running backs are supposed to grow on trees. And they have problems because their schedule gets tougher. Ole Miss, they've got 2 on the road, Oklahoma and Georgia. So, but a lot like Penn State, it might be one of those deals where if they split one of those, well, especially one loss in the SEC, not going to have to worry about it. Indiana, you figured that Iowa game was going to be tough. Even if Iowa sucks, they still have like 2 games, and they don't suck this year, but you know what I mean? Iowa's, in their worst seasons, they're usually good for like 2 games at home where you're like, what the hell was that score again? But post the Illinois beatdown that everyone watched on a light Saturday schedule 2 Saturdays ago, you figured road game, potentially a little bit of a letdown. We had an interception fest there at the end, 0 blitz, just coming after Mendoza. He makes the game-winning throw, touchdown there. So I would not, and I think it's also great that Illinois won against SC for Indiana here, but I wouldn't look at that score going, hey, how come they struggled with Iowa and all that kind of stuff. To me, that made all the sense in the world. Arkansas decided to run a 7-on-7 defense out there against Notre Dame. Jeremiah Love, who I don't know how long the list is of players in college football that are actually just better than him. I know his head coach, Freeman, compared him to Reggie Bush. I think we should just ban any Reggie Bush comparison, much like I think saying that any quarterback was important to his team for one season as Cam Newton was to Auburn. Like, there's just certain things I'm like, I'm not going to allow this to happen. Having said all that, again, I don't think it's 10 players that are better in college football than Jeremiah Love. 4 touchdowns in that game against Arkansas, which ended up needing a new head coach. Sam Pittman out, Bobby Petrino back in. That Bobby Petrino, that was one of the days at ESPN where you just love being on the air. You're like, what is going on? And he has a neck brace on. And why is his face, is that Vaseline or Neosporin on those scratches? All right. Arizona State remains one of the most exciting teams in college football, down 17-zip to TCU, the Hoover show, rolling. I love seeing them back in the top 25, coming back, getting the strip fumble in this game. They just play every single, whether it was last year, the Big 12 brand of last year, that at least carried over to that matchup, beating a ranked TCU team. The better QB theme continued. Altmaier's better than Maava. Illinois deserved to win that football game. They fumbled twice into the end zone. So it was nice to see them respond as well as they did against SC. SC fans can stop wondering if the world is out to get them by not having them ranked after beating nobody and putting up like 10 yards per play in their first game of the season against nobodies. I think SC's okay, but that was important for Illinois considering what happened against Indiana. And we close with this. If you were wondering, hey, does Robbie Ashford still play college football? Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Remember, he committed to Ole Miss to play baseball and football. Same thing at Oregon. Didn't play. Then went to Auburn. Auburn, I spent all summer reading about how he was going to be awesome there. It didn't happen. Then he was at South Carolina, and then he came in with Sellers got hurt. You're like, oh, my God, Robbie Ashford's out there. And now he's at Wake. If you watched this game, which I'm sure you didn't, Georgia Tech was down massive, and it wasn't a fluke. They were getting their asses kicked. Look at the yardage stuff. Don't worry about it. You don't have to. Robbie did get hurt. Came back. He's still only 22. He's got a birthday coming up soon, though. 23 soon. And then it ended the way it ended, trying to go for 2 with him at quarterback. If you know, you know.
You want details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari, 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
We've got Kyle. We've got Cerruti Life Advice, rr@gmail.com. That is the email. And I think the floor is yours, good buddy, because Kyle's got the Drake May jersey. Is that Drake May or is that Josh Gordon?
This is Brewski today.
Nice.
I went classic.
Brewski was great in the pregame.
He always is. All those guys are pretty good, I think. No, I got nothing else to say, but this is fucking awesome. I'll leave it there. I know it's the Panthers. I'm not an idiot. I know, but hey, man, it's all good.
You wouldn't trade him for Spencer Rattler right now?
No, dude, I can't wait until everyone has to admit that he's good. No one wants to admit it. Well, not no one, but a lot of people don't.
Do you want a
number? I don't
number?
think that's true.
What do you? Go ahead. Expand.
No, I think a lot of people think Drake May is good. I think, it's like the anti-New England thing where they like root for him to be bad, but I think most people when they watch Drake May are like, oh, he could play.
I think they really enjoyed how juiced up we got from Mac Jones and then how not cool the last part of the Mac Jones Patriots thing went.
Pro Bowler Mac Jones?
I think
respect on his name.
Yeah, Pro Bowl alternate, I think. But and I was saying that stuff too. It's like, yeah, he is a Pro Bowl alternate. Come on, dude. But I don't know. I'm taking it 1 week at a time, and I'm glad it's Monday and I could wear a Patriots thing, so that's cool.
Here's a number for you. Most consecutive games with 75% completion rate, 2 pass touchdowns. Single season NFL history.
Yeah, I love when there's 8 caveats and it's like, dude, this is awesome.
No, most consecutive games completing 75% or more of his passes with 2 or more passing touchdowns. So Brady has the all-time streak in 2007.
Okay.
It's too bad the Pats couldn't have played the Super Bowl after week 7.
Yeah,
that year.
I know.
Although I don't count the Philly loss against Brady. I count it for Belichick. That's not a loss.
I've been seeing clips about that too.
Yeah.
Like today, I saw like 3 different clips. I don't know. Are they bringing it back? Did Belichick say something? I don't know. But there's like, I saw exactly that today.
Just want to be on record for that. Yeah, I hear you.
Like I've started to notice more and more of my friends, and then they have these arguments on social media, and then I go, "Do you actually think you're important enough to like lead this charge?" Like if you keep hammering this point, you think then it's going to like shift opinion?
Or it's like if you die and go to heaven, it's like God's like reading through your tweets, and he's just like, "Well, he did say that the Eagles' loss wasn't on Brady, so check in the win category."
Yeah,
I don't. All things considered.
Throw for 500 yards, and the head coach can't stop Nick Foles.
Crazy, man.
That one's not on Brady. So Brady had 4 in 2007. Drake May has 3 in 2025 with Manning, Rodgers, Manning again, Kurt Warner. So there you go.
Thank you for that. Really appreciate it.
All the other players,
corner.
all the other players on the list, by the way, won the AP NFL MVP that season. So check it out on FanDuel. Check out the MVP odds for us.
Pats corner. Let's go. And I'm not to turn this into a pro Pats thing even more. I'm not a Pats fan. I don't root for them. I just root for Kyle's happiness. But they don't have any good weapons either. So like the guy, like
Butte might be somebody.
Offensive line's not awesome. Like
Butte might be somebody. I'm circling a T-shirt jersey for him.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
I need to go back and watch him. The Pats are probably like one of the 2 most least watched teams here over. I never watch them.
It's been a couple years running that way. I'm just used to it. Can't talk to you about it, but there's people I can talk to about it. I was telling Cerruti before we could move off this. I was having like, I actually tweeted this. Probably shouldn't have done that. But I was like, I have for the last couple of years. If I'm watching at Frolic Room with my one Pats guy, we have like a whiskey per touchdown, and that's been like a 2 whiskey day forever. And then halftime, it was like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to come home and see my wife. What the hell? This was like it was all in good fun. Everyone's in good spirits, but it's like, dude, you had like 8 whiskey, or I guess not 8, but however many touchdowns that was. Like that's too many.
They had 40. I've had about your dad is right about you.
So I don't know. I think we'll have to make some sort of like
fucking rabbits. I'm really sorry to the parents. I'm sorry to the parents for the kids in the car. That was sorry.
We'll put a warning in the description. Nobody probably reads.
I went outside. I was like, I got dropped off, and I just called my brother real quick for like 10 minutes. Just chatted, and then like I was like, all right, I can do this. It was totally fine. We watched Weapons. I remember it actually.
Okay.
But yeah, I was just not prepared for that many points. So I think I'll probably won't start next week that way.
Fair.
How many times have you used that Swiffer jet? 0?
Let's read some emails.
Follow up from the roommate, no bed guy. Listen to the episode yesterday. Did a bit more digging into the bed situation. Learned a few new points. 1, he used to have a California king in his old apartment, but swears he sleeps better now. Wow.
There's no way that's true.
Yeah, is that even possible?
I wish we could get a measurement on that room, man. I just want to know what he could even fit in there.
Did you end up sending out the picture?
I didn't.
Okay.
I don't.
I was working through some AI channels trying to because we just didn't want to give away this guy's stuff. Like we don't want to dox some random guy who doesn't even know what's going on. But I think it is worth maybe sending that. We had an illustration put together. I think it was vague enough, but it gives you the idea of the room. I think we need to send that out today.
All right. Number 2. Wow, look, I still can't get past number 1.
That seems like some biblical ironic punishment. Like California king to sleeping bag on the floor. It seems like that's like an Aesop's fable or something.
He's in a medieval jail. New prisoner shows up and he's like, "This place is great. Which corner do you want? I've been kind of shacked up over here.
Right. Which one's our piss corner?
Getting plenty of shut eye. Back has never felt better." All right, number 2, he does not plan on bringing anyone home for obvious reasons and will strongly suggest going to their place should the situation present itself. I feel like this is not a major priority for this guy at this age, like it is for many of us that were at that age. First thing you're thinking of, what, do I play some, I'm trying to think, Agua de Joe on the Shams. All right. Number 3, if he finds someone that understands the sleeping situation, he thinks that may be the one. No shit, man.
Love me at my lowest. Yeah, literally and figuratively.
Maybe we should just go in on a van. Just get across the country. What do you think?
This is awesome. Do you want to get married? He would then consider the romantic gesture of buying a bed for them. I offered to work out some of the flex wall situation, which would allow him more space in the shared living room for a desk, dresser, or anything which would help with his space. He had no interest and reiterated his happiness with the situation. This guy was willing to give up shared common areas for a guy to be putting his underwear away in some drawers, his drawers in some drawers, and he just post the advice and getting to learn more. I think you guys are right to let it go. Honestly, you still find it hilarious, and learning the above was insightful to say the least. Also, Russillo nailed it. I do have 3 older sisters. I know you did, man.
It's got to feel good when you know that. Spot that one.
Please feel free to show the photo. Follow up. On second thought, let's not show the photo, so it remains a mystery to the audience.
All right.
Yeah, look, see, that's why we don't do it.
Here's the thing, though. You've seen one of these. You've seen all of them. You know that picture of like, hey, a dude's apartment. It's just like a pull-out chair and a TV on the floor, and that's it. That's pretty much.
But I never thought, like, I was never like, yup, that's me. Like, I know, I never actually, I get what the point of that is. But like, that's the thing. Like, you might live with a guy who that is the truth. But for me, I was just like, that's never how I'd want to be. I'd be thinking about how do we fix this, or what can I afford to put in here? I'm never looking at that meme like, girls just don't get us, man. That's actually not how I am. But there is a guy in my friend group that's like that, and it sounds like that's the guy that our emailer has a roommate.
This guy just wanted to let us know that a cafe restaurant in Barcelona brings a teddy bear to the table of a customer dining alone. Has this ever happened to Ryan while traveling alone? It has not. Not sure how I'd handle that. I mean, the hard on move would be like, get that out of here. I'm totally fine. I don't need it. So I probably wouldn't do that, despite assumptions that I'd like, all right. I mean, if I didn't know, I'd probably be a little creeped out.
Yeah. Was it some idea of a joke?
Yeah, because I there's probably nobody else is going to be eating alone. I mean, you think it's rare in the States. I think it's illegal in Europe.
Old man in the 70s. I think they probably eat 40% of their meals alone. Just get out of the house for a little bit, get the senior coffee.
I would say that's more of a cafe thing. I feel like cigarette outside, cappuccino in the morning. That sounds peaceful to me. I would do that.
All right, living alone. Let's stay on the lonely thing here. Longtime listener. I'll cut right to the chase here. I'm currently a junior. He gives us a school. We'll leave it out. And while I started out in the same class as my current roommates, I've fallen a semester behind due to a few failed classes and a change in major. Hey, some of us have been there, man. Next year, 2 of my 3 roommates who are seniors are going to move back home after graduation. That leaves me living, which is one of them next year. The roommate I'll be staying with has a girlfriend who's a net neutral, all things considered. He typically spends most nights with her. That means I'll be in the apartment alone, essentially living alone. I'm starting to realize that between his schedule and the fact that many of my friends are moving all over the place, I'm likely going to experience a kind of solitude that's new for me. I may even be living completely alone in the coming years. I was looking for some advice on living alone and dealing with the transition of living with a few people to living by myself. Go Birds.
That's a bummer, man. That's a bummer when the college end date gets screwed up and you didn't plan to have enough friends for what happens. I don't really know what that's like.
Meeting younger guys.
Yeah, I don't know what that's like. But it seems like a huge bummer.
Yeah, but it's temporary, right? You know, like
Totally.
He's going to finish school and then, you know, maybe he moves back somewhere. And like, you know, it's only a year. I would say, you know, get into reading. Do you play video games? This could be like a good, like, kind of find yourself situation.
Sounds so lame.
Or learn about yourself. Maybe you'll learn that you'll hate it so much that you'll be a little more proactive on the community boards for housing situations post-college. But yeah, the hey, I'm still here and no one else is. I mean, look, you're looking at him. I had one roommate who was a close friend that first year, and we weren't super organized. And then as we were looking for places, because it got so bad, the place we were staying at, we were like, we're out of here. We're going to move back towards town. And we couldn't find anything. And then we asked if we could stay, and they were like, no, we don't want you here. We weren't a great fit. We were like in a neighboring suburb, and they were just like, what is up with these guys? And we were both working late, so we were coming home late all the time. Anyway, decompress, Final Fantasy VII, Japanese music, thin walls, you know. So then I was like super jammed up because it's unbelievable how inflappable I was in this face of adversity. I just was like, hey, where are you living next week? I don't know. You guys want to
figure it out?
Yeah. You guys want to get some pizza? Just didn't care. What are you doing today? I'll probably play pickup.
The worst is just around the corner.
Yeah.
We're just going to turn right instead, hopefully.
Whatever. So I lived with one guy who owned a bar, and he moved his bedroom or his bed into his living room and gave me his bed. That didn't work out great. And then I lived with.
Would you have wanted the living room bed?
No, I was psyched. I couldn't believe he did what he did.
Yeah, it sounds like he lost a bet or something. I don't know. I don't know why that would happen that way.
The downstairs was like a bit of a halfway house. It's like if you were coming home late, some guy in a duster, I think, took a swing at me. He was like super, super old. So I just kind of like let it go.
You let it go?
Well, I mean, he was really old.
Wow. That's good. That should be in a show somewhere. You got to find a way to put that in some sort of writing because I'm imagining it. It's almost like when you read it in a book and you're like, I really wonder how they're going to make that come to life on the made for TV movie of it. That's great. I love that description.
Well,
then he forgot because then the next time I saw him, I was like, what the fuck?
Try to give you a handshake or something?
Yeah.
What's up, buddy? Yeah.
He was like, he had no idea. It's like, what are you talking about? Although there were plenty of nights I was.
Wait, how old was he?
Oh, he was
I'm
so old.
Now in my head, I'm like, what is the cutoff line of like too old to hit somebody back?
Remember though, I'm 23.
Yeah.
So he's old
like
to me. Then
age?
Yeah. Now he's probably like 58. I'm like this guy.
Oh, I thought he was like 50 back then. Okay.
No, I'm just saying.
I feel like isn't old to hit somebody back.
No, he was older. He was older than that. I'm just making fun of
65 plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, easily.
Wow,
that's fair.
That's awesome.
Anyway, look, back to the email here. I mean, do you guys really have anything here other than?
I have nothing. This is a bummer. That's all I know.
I think it's important.
Like Rudy's like read and like, get in good shape or whatever.
If he's this bummed out, if he's this pre-bummed out about the whole thing, and yeah, it does suck. It sucks when you're the guy and then all of your like core guys leave. Like 5 of my roommates moving and leaving.
I didn't budget for this in the friend department, right?
Yeah, right. Like I could see it coming. I knew it was coming, and then when it happened, I was kind of like, oh yeah, this is going to kind of suck. But then, look, it still completely worked out and it was fine. And I like my post-college years as much as I like my college years, which definitely delayed the adulting part of the entire thing. But it sounds like the anxiety that you have about this means that this could be a good thing because you kind of have to face your fear a little bit in this, because at some point you're likely not going to be living with somebody. And at some point as a man, you should aspire to not have roommates.
But I think it sounds like he's not even bummed out. I think I'm more bummed out about this. He's just like, sees it coming. I mean, maybe get like a job that you wouldn't mind doing. Maybe you meet a dude there.
I don't think it's maybe I'm reading this wrong, but is it the living alone thing that he's bummed out about, or that he's just not going to really know anyone for like a year? Because that sucks. Like the living alone thing, like who cares? Like,
that's fine. Even though college is sort of like, your roommates, like that's where you hatch all the plans. But either way, I mean, you can still meet up somewhere. But I think, there's just no one left really. And he's like the one guy that he has left, he lives with, and he's probably going to be pretty tied up if this girlfriend thing is serious.
Yeah,
you get a girlfriend for a year.
Yeah,
right.
Hey, I'm not that into
dry
you.
Run for real life.
But there's just not a lot going on over here.
Yeah, could be nice.
Not a huge help on that one.
Nope, sorry.
I'd say get a cool job. See if you can get a bartending gig or something.
All right, whatever. I guess I don't know. I couldn't wait to live by myself. So I'm the wrong guy to ask. Fiance struggling with work-life balance. 5'10", 180, 4.58 40 time. All-state my senior year in 1A basketball. Athlete. My fiance and I have been together a little over 5 years now. She's a delight. Our only hiccup is one that has been going on for a year now. We moved closer to her hometown around 2 years ago, and she found a job in her career field as a massage therapist. After gaining some clients over the first couple of months, she stays regularly booked out. She's compensated very fairly by her employer. However, since becoming very busy at her job, that is all she talks about. And the main object in her own monologues is how unfairly she is treated by her boss. I know as a partner, I'm the one she's supposed to vent to, and I do my very best to be an open ear for her. But over the last 15 months, it is an everyday, even on off days, topic that she will go on about for at least 2 hours at a time. I've started to dread my coming home from my own job, only to be asked in a passing way about my day before she uploads on how awful her own situation is. I've tried to talk to her into confronting her boss, changing jobs, starting her own practice, or even seeking some type of therapy if she's truly that miserable. All received with a deaf ear. If the big three in Oregon, well, we don't know what happened to Oregon, so we'll forward this to him. Have any advice, please help. I love my fiance and do look forward to our future together, but I don't want to have dread every time I come home to hear the same conversation for the 200th time. Yeah, bro, that sucks. I've been there. I've also been that person.
They don't want solutions, by the way. They seriously don't. They don't want your way of trying to get out of hearing this thing. And you're probably even saying it with a bit of like an impatience in your voice or whatever. You're like, all right, well, maybe then you should just do this. Like, they don't ever want it. They almost never want it. Like, maybe they want something from like if she sees a therapist or like mom or dad. But for you, your job is to sit there and you take it. You eat it up, dude. That's what it's supposed to happen. Unfortunately, if it's not happening, like if it's the pattern is the pattern and you've tried every which way to get out of it, unless you're like, hey, this is too much. Which honestly, I think that's a way. I think if you're your fiance, you love her, you should be able to find a way to do this because it's going to boil over in a way that you hate. Really, the only way out of this is to be like, this is too much. And you can't do it like, do I ever talk to you about my work like this? Like, that's not going to get it. You just have to really like straight to the point, be like, this is too much. You know, I get home and basically from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, we're talking about, it says we're just bummed out. You're bummed out. It's dinner time. We watch a show.
Vibes
go
are
to
low.
sleep. The vibes are low. Like you have to, that's the only way out of this. There's no like, fucking cheat code you can do here. There's no, mind trick you can do. You have to just say, we can't do it this way. And, find a nice direct way to say it. But there's no, advice isn't going to help. And, whatever.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of, you've been using a lot of like, that's crazy. And that only goes so far.
Yeah, you just turned into an NPC.
So many times. Yeah. Wow, no way. I think the only way you could do this is you have to come at it from I think what you said is right, Kyle, but like you have to come at it from the standpoint of you being concerned for her well-being and say, hey, this has been like a year plus of you doing this. Like, I'm looking out for you. You just seem not yourself. Obviously, you're upset at home. I don't want you to be upset. Like, I want you to obviously, be fulfilled in life. And it seems like the career is just sucking too much out of you. What could we do? What could we do? You be the solutions guy. And, you're kind of like taking some of the responsibility. You're also putting in her corner. Like, well, something's got to change then. Do you want to move jobs? Do you want because like at the end of the day, like there's really nothing you can do. You have to push her in the way that's going to make her happier. What does she want to make a change in the career? Does she want to keep and stick it out? Does she want to do something different? But like, I think you have to come at it from the standpoint of you're trying to be the helpful guy, even though there's really not much you can be helpful about other than listening.
I think that's all really good. The problem is that you have some people that get excited to be upset about things. Yeah. And like, I know, look, firsthand, there was a time I was in a relationship. It was like the early SVP days. I was incredibly frustrated about some of the dynamics of like not being a full-time employee, not getting my name on the show, like just getting fucked with all the time. But like, as I always try to admit during those times, like sometimes you're in the category of like, you're somebody who can actually get fucked with and there's not much you can do about it.
That's on your stat sheet. Everyone sees it.
So like as worked up as you can be at the workplace, right? Mad about it, counting the enemies, tracking all the discrepancies, like just going down your list of like, this guy's fucking with me, this guy's fucking with me, like all of these different things. I had to have, and again, this is just speaking to me right now, especially with like the long-term plan. I was like, you currently are someone who they are allowed to fuck with. And that's it. So the sooner you accept that, the quicker you, but it wasn't like I got over it all that quickly. And in the relationship I was in, I was kind of just unloading all the time. The irony being that she was also unloading to me about the same stuff over and over again. And then I started thinking like, hey, maybe we are actually two people that need this. Like we actually don't want resolution. We enjoy conflict. We turn things into conflict. I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? Because I can think of somebody right now that, I'm close with that. It's not a romantic thing. It's I know like once the wheels start spinning, like what's going to happen now, and all of the past things are going to be brought up like over and over and over again. And there are people, and I would like to say, as someone that has had that, I'm certainly guilty of that in the past, of like, okay, here we go. I'm going to fucking unload on this whole thing that I'm pissed about again. Shruti has a big smile on his face right now because he is the number one consumer of these moments. But no, I mean, it's true. I'm admitting something here with me that I don't like about myself, but it's almost like I'll catch myself going, I'm enjoying doing this whole thing all over again. All right. Now, I don't think I'm wrong. Go ahead.
You're not wrong. Everything you said is correct, because I think that is very true. And I've said this before. You and I think we like, or I should say, we dislike the same things more than we like the same things, and that's why we get along. Like we like this. Be like, you see that fucking idiot doing this? You're like, okay, we that's how we bond. But if two people aren't bonding on that, like he's not bonding on this. No. Like she's only bonding on it, so it doesn't work. Like like it doesn't work. Like if you were to talk to some random person, Ryan, about the same things we talk about, it just wouldn't be satisfying to the other person. Like it's it's like a symbiotic relationship. Is that the word I'm looking for? Like this is just a one-way street.
It's a parasite.
Talking about stuff that you don't care about, and so that's not healthy. Like it's healthy if the two people, like, because like I remember just the time at ESPN, like I would just bond with coworkers about being like, this place is so dumb. Why are we doing this? We're doing this. And like, that's how you become friends with people. You do it at school. Like, oh, this teacher sucks. This person sucks. Like, that's what happens. But he has no skin in the game other than he's just being dumped on for no reason. And he doesn't get a win out of this at all.
Goes to a Christmas party once a year and be like, oh, so that's Connor, huh? Okay.
Yeah. Like,
all right.
So,
right.
Like, should I not talk to any of these guys? You tell me.
It's a fantastic point. But like, I guess the point that I'm trying to make here to the email, because everything you guys have said, you've nailed this. And then, Sarita and I are kind of looking at each other, smiling here a little bit, because I'm guilty of this. I am guilty of doing this. I'm better about it now than I was years and years ago. But I'm telling the emailer, you may be engaged as somebody who just needs this all the time. All right. I luckily have been able to work on this and work myself to like a point of resolution, where I go, hey, if you're going to feel this way, then you need to change what it is around you. And sometimes in life, you have those options. And unfortunately for a lot of us, especially when you're younger, you're pursuing careers, you don't have those options. All right. So this normally doesn't work in a romantic relationship to be just so straightforward. But if it's a year and a half of this, you have to get like real, right? Like real world Seattle. All right. You just sit her down and you're like, I will listen to this for the rest of my life if you want me to. Okay.
I love you. Yeah.
Yeah. You're the best. Just killing it. Even though I emailed into a sports show because I can't fucking stand it anymore. All right. You have to figure out what is going to make you kind of change from this. Now, again, my fear is that she may just want this all the time. Like, I'm so excited to bitch about this. Go ahead.
But the good news, though, is that, and maybe he didn't say this and it's true, but like, it sounds like this is just an 18-month-ish or 50, however long it is. Like, she sounds like before this, she was fine. It's just like, because you knew her before this and I assume you knew her for time before that.
Yeah. 5 years now. This
is this job problem. So that's a good thing, because that means it's not, she's not just a perpetual complainer. She's just a complainer because of her current situation. I think that's important.
Yeah, I think that's another great point. But what you would need to say to her is, hey, for 15 months, this has been the same thing. And I'm not complaining about any of it. This is about me caring about you and going, can you get to a point of either you have to accept this because you don't have other options, or you need to use this day moving forward to provide yourself some sort of option. So this isn't the case anymore. All right. Because now you're just running the wheel here. You're in this cycle of it's the same routine and it's still going to be bad. With like this, this is probably not going to change. So you either have to accept that it's not going to change, or put some things in motion here to set yourself up for change within the next, because you don't want to be sitting here doing this. The problem, the one thing that you may get hit with is if she just listened to like a female empowerment podcast, it's like, actually, you're supposed to sit here and listen to me, bitch, for the rest of my life, despite me not making any moves whatsoever. I want to call off the engagement. So
the one thing you have to accept, the one thing you are going to have to accept, this ratio is
speak to me.
It's always going to be skewed. This ratio will always be skewed. You'll be abreast of at least 50% of what you're already getting now, and she'll still be abreast of 2% of whatever's bothering you about work. It's always going to be off, but you could bring it down a little bit. And if one of you has good health insurance, therapists could even do this for free. If you have great health insurance, the shit will be covered, once a month for free. If not, it might be worth throwing a couple bucks that way. And if she could just do that thing on Wednesdays at 6, might be problem solved.
And what's the overhead on being a massage therapist and working for yourself? A table?
Yeah. Take the client book.
Right. It's not like she's in investment banking.
That's going to go great. Yeah.
No, I that's not a diss, but I'm saying the reality of this is you probably be your own boss a lot sooner as a massage therapist than you could a lot of the other jobs.
That's true.
So there you go. That's life advice.
Good luck.
Thanks to Cerruti. Thanks to Kyle. Thanks to Jonathan Frias. Ryen Russillo podcast is also a video podcast. You can check out our YouTube page. Ryen Russillo podcast, Ringer, Spotify.
They were going to name me Michael Jordan. My dad was like, I don't think he can live up to it, so they named me Michael Jared.
Must be 21 and older and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is there. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.